everybody. I'm Dr. Varsha Shah. I'm a pediatrician and a lifestyle physician. I have been practicing lifestyle medicine since 2019. As Vinita said, the epidemic was an eye-opener, and I certified recently and passed PGDLM, that is postgraduate diploma in lifestyle medicine from CMC Vellore. Okay, so now we are going to talk about empowering a healthy future for our children. Since the last 2 to 3 years, or probably even 5 years, I have seen a burgeoning epidemic of lifestyle diseases in children, whether it is obesity, whether it is, autism, ADHD, whether it is early puberty in children, whether it is autoimmune disease. I am like, what I saw like before 2015-16, we were not seeing so much of this lifestyle diseases. And now we are seeing a real huge jump in these diseases. So this makes me think and question why this jump has been there, and why are we seeing diseases that we used to see after the age of 40, like type 2 diabetes, hypertension in children, obesity in children, and of course other issues like asthma, acne, which was there, and the incidence is just skyrocketing. So we'll discuss about that, the solutions that we have in hand, and how do we go about it. So today we are going to talk about empowering a healthy future for our children. Now, we all read newspapers and we've come across these headlines quite frequently. The obesity epidemic amongst children is burgeoning. We are seeing a lot of obesity in children between the age of 5 to 19 years, and even young adults up to the age of 25. So the obesity, we are having a young and obese India. Now, these news clippings are all from 2024. We are seeing a skyrocketing incidence of type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes in children. And obesity is one of the most important factors, risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes. Now, this was something which made a headlines just like in October, breasts at 6 and periods at age 7. So I have been seeing this trend in early puberty in children. I have 2 daughters. One is in class 10 and one is in class 6. And I am actually seeing the age of puberty going low and low. So recently, around 6 months back, I saw a 7-year and 8-year-old girl develop puberty, which had no medical or organic reason for it. We'll come to the discussion later on. Similarly, a lot of junk food. India is the largest consumer of palm oil, and palm oil is used in all junk food. Whether it is chips, whether it is biscuits, whether it's bakery products, whether it's the instant noodles, instant pasta, everything has a lot of chemicals added to it. And this junk food is highly, highly addictive. It is manufactured to foster overconsumption. Like even if you're full and sitting in front of a television, you could finish a whole packet of chips without being hungry. So it is actually manufactured for overconsumption. It is highly addictive, and the most important point, it is detrimental for children's health. It is detrimental for children's health because, one, it is overconsumed. Second, it has a lot of chemicals, flavor enhancers, which play havoc with children's health. So what do you think is the solution, or what do you think is the cause of this burgeoning epidemic of lifestyle diseases that we are seeing in children? So now what is the solution? The solution is a plant-based diet and lifestyle modifications. Lifestyle modifications include increased physical activity that translates to lesser screen time, prioritizing sleep, reducing stress. So we are going to discuss all this today. Okay. Now, these are a few questions that I have for the audience here. Did you know that hardening of the arteries begins in childhood making heart disease a pediatric health issue. The young heart attack that we see at 30 or 40 did not occur overnight. Atherosclerosis starts as early as age 6 or 8 years. Did you know that despite the known benefits of fruits and vegetables, less than 50% of teens eat less than one serving a day? In my pediatric practice, I frequently come across mothers who will panic if the child does not drink that morning glass of milk and go to school. But they will not bat an eyelid if the child has not had a single fruit in a week. Did you know that infants start developing taste preferences in the womb? This means that what the pregnant mother eats has tremendous effect on the taste and the food choices of the infant. Did you know that obese children are likely to become obese adults? And did you know that junk food or ultra-processed food is as addictive as alcohol or drugs? And the best part, do you know that you all have the power to optimize your family's health by preparing and serving delicious whole food plant-based meals at home? Okay. So now, today I'm going to walk you through this talk, which will cover plant-based foods and growth and development. What are the nutritional shortfalls and how do you overcome them? And feeding relationships, healthy habits, and joyful eating. Right? Now, when I started my journey into plant-based diets, the most common question that came to me was, are they adequate? Is a plant-based diet safe and adequate for children? Now, there have been many scientific studies done way back from, say, 1989 to the latest done in 2021, varying from the Vechi study, which was done in Germany, the Vechi Youth study, the Seventh-day Adventist study, the Polish study. The conclusion of all these studies is a well-planned vegan and vegetarian diet with adequate energy intake can ensure optimal growth and development for children at all stages of life. So what were the findings in these studies? The Seventh-day Adventist study found that vegan and vegetarian children were taller than their omnivorous counterparts. Children who followed a vegan diet had lower cholesterol and lower CRP levels. CRP is a marker of inflammation. There was normal growth in all groups, whether omnivorous, vegan, or vegetarian children. Vegan children and vegetarian children had a higher fiber intake and half the added sugar intake. Now, this is the position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which says that well-planned vegan and vegetarian diets are appropriate for individuals at all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, and even for athletes. So, it is backed by science and evidence that a plant-based diet is sufficient if properly planned, appropriately planned, is adequate enough to ensure optimal growth of all children, whether it is an infant or an adolescent. Now, to maximize the nutritional benefits of a plant-based diet and minimize the pitfalls, we are going to see what are the nutritional pitfalls and how to overcome them. So I'm going to it's a very simple thing. There are 4 important points. One is quality, then comes quantity, the variety, and the add-ons. Now, quality. We should preferably choose high quality organic produce and staples to make food at home. Here at SHARAN, we request or we follow an organic food, whole food plant-based lifestyle. Now, secondly, we should avoid packaged and ultra-processed foods. Now, organic is food that is grown with safer pesticides or less pesticides. Now, what you have to remember is all animal food and packaged food contains chemicals or pesticides, whether it is flavor enhancers, stabilizers, preservatives, emulsifiers. Okay. So all these chemicals, when they go into your body, they cause what they are called as endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they can lead to hormonal imbalance. So suppose, for example, if many people come to me and ask, organic is not available, or sometimes it is too expensive to afford it, I would still say choose fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and pulses rather than going for animal products. Why is this so? Because toxins and pesticides bioaccumulate and biomagnify in animal products. So I will explain this. Suppose you have a field which, say, which is growing wheat, and there's one field which is growing fodder for the cattle, for the cow. You are spraying pesticides on both the fields. Still, the amount of pesticides will be at least 15 times lesser in that wheat as compared to the pesticide present in milk or meat derived from that cow. Now, why is this so? This is because of the process of bioaccumulation. Pesticides preferably accumulate in animal fat as compared to plants where there is very less fat. And as you move higher in the food chain, there is biomagnification of these pesticides. So, irrespective, if you have a choice, go in for organic plant-based produce. And if you cannot get organic or you cannot afford organic, still go for plants, that is fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and pulses and legumes, rather than consuming animal products like milk, eggs, fish, meat. Okay. And quality means minimize added sugar and salt. Now, quantity. As far as children are concerned, younger children have very smaller stomachs that fill up rapidly and even empty rapidly. So children require frequent feeding. Plant-based foods are lower in energy density. They are higher in nutrient density and lower in calories. So they are required, give it abundantly to your children. Don't put a limit on intake, unlike adults. And children need higher amount of fats. So give peanuts, dry fruits, nuts, and seeds and seed butters liberally to your children. Okay. Variety. We say eat the rainbow. So all the colors of the rainbow, the more you eat, the more polyphenols, phytonutrients, and antioxidants are available. Consume a lot of green leafy vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, pulses, herbs, and spices. So cover all these ingredients. So in a balanced meal, you should have vegetables, legumes, cereals, and you should consume green leafy vegetables as well. If you ensure this variety, quantity, and quality, it's unlikely or it's impossible that your children will not grow up healthy and happy. Now, so as a pediatrician, we recommend exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. After 6 months, you start complementary feeding. That is, you start plant-based foods. Continue breastfeeding till 2 years and beyond, till the mother and baby are comfortable with that. Now, you can use plant-based milks after 1 year. If you're using a primary milk, that is, you're giving milk as a source of food, preferably use soy milk or pea milk because the protein content is similar to that of cow's milk. And rest of the milks, that is oat milk, cashew milk, almond milk, whatever pumpkin seed milk, these milks can be used in various recipes, but they are not advocated as a primary source of milk. And do you think milk really does the body any good? Milk is ultimately an animal product. In my practice, I have seen milk intake linked to infantile colic, constipation, recurrent cough and cold in children, recurrent diarrhea, atopy and eczema, asthma and allergies, early puberty in girls, gynecomastia in boys, adolescent acne, type 1 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and in adults, it worsens osteoporosis and is linked with breast and prostate cancer in adults. Now, infantile colic, that is anywhere between, say, birth to usually 6 months to 10 months of age, where the baby suddenly starts crying and is inconsolable. Now, in these infants also, if we request the mother to stop milk and milk products, I have seen fantastic results with colic. Milk induces constipation in children, especially in toddlers. Now, what happens if the child refuses food for some reason? The mothers give milk, and the child drinks that milk, gets satiated, and doesn't eat real food. So the child is constipated because milk doesn't have any fiber. And this constipation, milk doesn't have any iron. Excessive consumption of milk during early childhood is linked with iron deficiency anemia as well. Now, in my practice, in monsoons, in winters, I see a lot of children with recurrent cough and cold, especially toddlers who are in nursery and, like first, second standard. One child in the class develops cough and cold, another 8 to 10 will develop cough and cold. So when I tell my parents, stop all milk and milk products, and they say that the resolution of symptoms is much faster and recurrence is less. Now, milk above the age of 4 years, we don't have this enzyme called lactose to digest milk. So we are almost all lactose intolerant. So children who have frequent tummy troubles, where it is not organic, there is no other medical cause for it. If you reduce milk and milk products, so best avoid it. Quite a few patients I see, the tummy pains just go away. Atopy and eczema clear wonderfully when you stop milk and milk products. Asthma and allergies, I have seen patients get rid of their inhalers, children who have asthma. Early puberty in girls and gynecomastia in boys. Now, early puberty is linked to a lot of factors, where milk is one of the factors because it contains sex hormones and it contains IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, which, plays havoc with our own hormones. So it's additionally, it is also the fat, excess consumption of junk food increases body fat, which acts as a trigger for release of estrogen and progesterone, which are the hormones involved in early menarche in girls. So early puberty is something that is really concerning, because I am seeing children as early as, girls as early as class 5 and class 4 develop periods. It is very psychologically devastating for that little girl and the parents as well. Now, adolescent acne, 12 to 15-year-old, at that age, they're very particular about their looks. They will come and for acne. So they already know that, fried food is not good. A lot of sugar is not good. What I actually tell them is, just for the next 3 weeks, stop milk and milk products. And I call them for follow-up after 3 weeks. When they come back, here is what they have to say. I have got no new pimples and my old ones have healed. So this is what the magic of plant-based diet can do. See, one more thing is, there are a host of creams, ointments, face washes available for acne. The fact that there are more than hundreds of them available in the market itself proves that probably even a single one is not effective in most of the cases. Effective in the sense, not curative. Milk intake is linked to type 1 diabetes. Children who have type 1 diabetes, when you reduce milk intake, the insulin requirement goes down. Milk is linked to a number of autoimmune diseases because casein, which is a foreign protein, can trigger abnormal antibody responses. And in adults, milk worsens osteoporosis and is linked to breast and prostate cancer. So now Dr. T. Colin Campbell says, casein, which makes up 87% of cow's milk protein, is the most significant carcinogen we consume. Carcinogen means a cancer-promoting agent. So it is already linked with breast cancer and prostate cancer. So do you think we should be giving cow's milk or buffalo's milk to our children? So this is one of my favorite cartoons. It is AI generated. We think we are drinking milk for protein, strong bones, calcium, and overall health, when actually drinking milk increases your risk for acne, inflammation, infection, osteoporosis, and GI upset. Now, I'll walk you through when you are transitioning to a plant-based diet. These are the nutrients of interest or focus that we are going to discuss in short. One is iron, second is protein, third is vitamin D, vitamin B12, calcium, and omega-3. Now, iron. Iron deficiency anemia is the most prevalent anemia across the world. Okay. What are the sources of iron? When I studied medicine, animal sources were considered as superior sources of iron. But plant-based sources, green leafy vegetables, pulses and legumes, cereals, whole cereals, and nuts and seeds like even garden cress seeds, like halim or olive seeds, are also a very good, rich source of iron. Now, what inhibits or reduces the absorption of iron? It is basically tannins present in tea and coffee and calcium present in milk. This actually reduces the absorption of iron. So what enhances the absorption of iron? Any product containing vitamin C, whether it's lemon, oranges, kiwi, capsicum, strawberries, pineapple, all these things which have rich in iron, vitamin C would enhance the absorption of iron. Okay. Animal products contain heme iron, which is more bioavailable or more absorbed. But again, we will later on see that animal products have their own disadvantages. Now, the most common question that I get asked is, are plant-based sources enough in protein to optimize the growing needs of a child? Okay. Now, protein fact, all plant foods contain all the 9 essential amino acids. So whether it is the soya bean, the mango, the banana, or the cucumber, all have all the 9 essential amino acids. Certain amino acids may be lower in certain plant foods. Just ensure adequate quantity and variety, and your child will not be protein deficient. All plants are complete protein. Soybean has the highest protein, but all plants have all proteins. Now, the sources of protein, the rich sources are basically legumes and pulses, soya bean, peanut butter, nuts and seeds. Even cereals contain significant protein, and even the humble banana or mango or palak, that also would contain protein. Okay. So all plant foods contain all the 20 amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein, which are required to make protein. Now, what you have to remember is plants are the de novo manufacturers of protein. We ourselves cannot manufacture protein. The amino acids are just rearranged to form protein. But plants are the alchemists. They actually whip up protein from the taking the nitrogen from the air or from the soil. You know, if you remember a bit of chemistry, carbohydrates and fat have CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, whereas proteins have this nitrogen element. So only plants are the manufacturers of protein. Okay. Now let us see animal protein versus plant protein. You know, I have a lot of youngsters going to the gym who overconsume paneer for protein intake. So now look at the protein percentage. It's almost same in paneer and broccoli. Can you see that? And what is high in paneer? The fat. It is almost 70%. The carbohydrate is very less. It is 4%. Similarly, in chicken, in meat, eggs, they don't contain any carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is the fuel that is utilized in the first 30 minutes of any physical activity. Suppose you're exercising, whether you're doing yoga or jogging, what is the fuel that is used initially? It's the fuel that is stored in your muscles, which is the glycogen, which is stored form of carbohydrate. So immediate fuel is always carbohydrate, right? But in children, protein is required for growth. So plant protein is sufficient enough. All plants have all 20 amino acids and good quantity of protein. Then what are the problems with animal protein? It has cholesterol, it has saturated fat, hormones like IGF-1, sex hormones, and stress hormones. Most animals are given antibiotics to prevent infection because they are reared in congested environment. You know, whether you see the hens and chickens stacked on one on top of the other, whether you see the cows and pigs, you know, in limited areas, they are chained. So because they are not moving around and all, they have very high incidence of infection, and they are giving prophylactic antibiotics. Of all the antibiotics manufactured in this world, 80% of them are used in animal agriculture. Plus, they have toxins like TMAO. Animal proteins, when digested in the intestine, produce something called as TMAO, which is a potent inflammatory agent. Intake of animal protein is linked to various chronic diseases and non-communicable diseases, and animal protein has no fiber. So you have to look at the whole package. Plus, animal agriculture is not sustainable and there is a lot of animal suffering involved. Plant protein, it is full of fiber, phytonutrients, antioxidants, and it is balanced. It would contain carbs, proteins, and fats, less or more, but most of them would contain all the three macronutrients plus a host of micronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, which are present in plant protein. So you have to look at the complete package. You don't have to look at single ingredients. Animals may be high in protein, but look at the package with what it comes. Okay, so wisely choose your protein. Then comes calcium. We all grew up with the concept that cow's milk gives us calcium. Calcium is required for strong bones and teeth, right? So how much calcium does milk contain? 120 milligrams per 100 grams. Look at the second one. Sesame contains how much? 1600 milligrams. That is 10 times calcium than milk. So a lot of plant products would contain calcium, including legumes, pulses, green leafy vegetables, nuts and seeds. Rich sources again include amaranth and ragi. You know, the ragi or nachni that is called. These are all very rich sources of calcium. And of course, sesame is very dense source of calcium. Where do you think the cow gets its calcium from? It does not de novo make calcium. It gets calcium from the green grass that it eats. So if you ensure a good intake of green leafy vegetables, as in the green smoothie, adding chopped green leafy vegetables to the child's paratha or vegetables is a wonderful way to ensure adequate calcium intake. Okay. Next comes vitamin D and B12. Vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. All of us can make it. Our skin makes it. But now, how much are you exposed to sunshine? Plus, there is this global warming causing ozone layer problem and reduced amount of exposure to the UVB rays, which are required for vitamin D synthesis. And vitamin D is important not only for calcium and phosphorus absorption for bone growth, it is also an hormone which is required for growth and maturation of the immune system and the musculoskeletal system. So, and in my experience, I have seen vitamin D deficiency not only in like vegans, vegetarians, even in omnivorous patients. Patients who consume non-vegetarian food also have vitamin D deficiency. So if you are deficient, supplement vitamin D. Vitamin B12 is made by bacteria. It is neither made by humans nor by plants. Now, with this deficiency, I have seen maximum in the last 10 years. You know, with the advent of ROs, the most important source was water. Now with chlorination and RO water, we have lost that vitamin B12, which was coming through water. The use of pesticides, again, B12 from plants has gone away. Cooking destroys vitamin B12. So if you're, and deficiency of B12 can cause weakness, irritability, anemia, lethargy in children. and supplementation is required. Then comes omega-3. Now, omega-3 is the rich sources are, as you all know, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, green leafy vegetables. Omega-3 is extremely important for brain development in children. It plays a key role in modulation of heart disease and even may offer some protection against dementia, diabetes, and asthma. Traditionally, fish was consumed as a rich source of omega-3, but it is contaminated with mercury, PCBs, and dioxins, plus a lot of saturated fat. What you have to remember is that fish don't make omega-3. They actually feed on the sea algae, which are rich sources of omega-3. So if you require a supplement, we have the omega-3 algae supplements, which are made from sea algae, which are safe as compared to the fish supplements. Now, green leafy vegetables, immunity and whole food plant-based diet. Plant-based diets can reduce inflammation. They are excellent for gut health because plants are rich in fiber. Enhanced immune response. All the chemicals that are present in plants, whether it's the phytonutrients, the antioxidants, they actually boost your immunity and lower your risk for infections. That translates to reduced frequency of recurrent cough and cold in children, lesser diarrhea, lesser gastroenteritis. Even if your child falls sick, there will be quicker recovery. And in the long term, there is reduced risk of obesity and other chronic diseases and a better shield against acute infections. So I prescribe plant-based diets to all my patients. It is the biggest immunity booster that I have known of. Now we have finished the advantages of a plant-based diet. Now, how do we feed children? Okay. Most of the children would, say no to vegetables. So our goal is to provide a foundation to healthy feeding that allows our children to become competent eaters. Okay. It's not only important that our children enjoy fruits, vegetables, pulses, and whole grains at the dinner table with us when you're prodding, forcing, negotiating, and bribing them, but also when they're away from our dinner tables, when they have more choice and freedom, they should be able to choose wisely. We have to give them the skill set to eat wisely, right? So that is extremely important. Now, one day I was there in the garden along with my children, and I heard this mother-daughter conversation. The child was playing on a swing and came back for the snack box. In the snack box, there was a paratha, vegetable paratha, some pasta, and a chocolate chip cookie. The child straight away went for the chocolate chip cookie first. The mother said, no, first you have the paratha, then you can have the chocolate chip cookie. So the child said, no, I want to have the chocolate chip cookie only. She went back again, and this time she said, okay, I will have 2 pieces of paratha and then I will have the chocolate chip cookie. So this is what happens, means we are negotiating, we are bribing, we are threatening. All these are tactics that sometimes praise and encouragement. Remember that even praise and encouragement is a pressure tactic. So how do you go about this? So there's this beautiful book by Ellen Satter, which says, she describes this principle of the division of responsibility, where parents are responsible for the what, when, and where of feeding, and the children have the autonomy or the freedom of how much to eat and whether to eat or not. Now, this is called as the division of responsibility. Now, what is important is a lot of parents feel that if they give the freedom to children of how much to eat and whether to eat, the children won't meet their nutritional needs. Now, this is specifically true when there's a lot of chaos and disruption at the dining table. When you are saying something that you first finish off the roti and the dal, and then you can have the sweet or the pasta. This is really difficult. And then the child says, I won't eat anything, and you are left with mounds of food. Now, how do you convince your children to do that? This approach is like you offer what is best and let the child decide how much to eat and whether to eat. Remember that hunger is an intrinsic inbuilt mechanism. No one can go hungry, A child may sleep hungry, say, for 1 night or 2 nights, but the child will ultimately come back to eat. Now, there are a lot of other factors involved in this, right? So, it's about structure, consistency, love, and a heavy, heavy dose of patience. You require a lot of patience. Now we go back to that example where the mother and child that are playing with each other, and then they take a snack break. The mother should have just given the tiffin box to the child and allowed her to eat. What would have happened? Probably she would have had the chocolate chip cookie first. If she was hungry for more, she would have had the pasta and the paratha later on. So it's important to give that freedom to children. So, as Ellen Satter puts it, the secret of feeding a healthy family is to love good food, trust yourself, and share that love and abundance and trust with your child. When the joy goes out of eating, nutrition suffers. Okay. So, I understand and I sympathize with parents, and I myself have been guilty of, like prodding, convincing, bribing my child to eat something healthy just because I think it is healthy. It turns out this way. Please eat what I want you to eat so that you get what you want to eat. Okay. Now, children at that young age usually don't get this concept of health, The taste is way more overpowering than the concept of health. So if you say, don't demonize food, that this is good food and this is bad food. Always give the healthy options and let the child eat and decide for himself what to eat. I know that at times it is actually easier said than done. And a lot of parents worry that this may hamper the child's growth. But believe me, not gaining those 300 to 500 grams during childhood, it's really very difficult to lose those grams and kilograms at a later age. When I have adolescents with obesity and young adults with obesity, it's really, really tough to lose that weight. Okay. Now, healthy habits. Healthy habits, like, will come to disease. Disease is passed down generations. Like, I have diabetes, so my child would have a higher incidence of diabetes. So, what do you think? Are genes your destiny? Does the genetic code determine your risk for developing disease? If your parents had, like Vinita shared, cancer runs in her family. Her 3 grandparents, 2 aunts, and her own sister succumbed. So, genes, when you there's an entire science called epigenetics. You may inherit those genes. Suppose, like my dad has diabetes, I may have inherited those genes of diabetes, right? But this gene expression can be modified. So the genes by themselves will not do anything. Their expression, whether they turn on or off, is decided by this environment around the genes. And this environment is modifiable. So healthy habits like regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and adequate sleep can positively modify gene expression. These lifestyle choices can switch on beneficial genes and silence harmful ones, effectively rewriting your genetic code. Like how Vinita has switched over, so her family's chance of getting those hereditary cancer is definitely reduced, By adopting healthy habits, individuals can harness the power of epigenetics to optimize their genetic potential, thus reducing the risk of chronic disease, including cancers. So, this picture shows a picture of a relay race where, you pass down the baton from one person to the other. Similarly, we pass down not only our genes, we pass down healthy habits also. So the changes that we do have a lot of influence on the genetic code of our children as well. So we pass down healthy habits like healthy eating, exercise, prioritizing sleep. All these habits can be passed down to the generations as well. Now comes the concept of joyful eating. You know, so when we come to joyful eating, what do we say is you have to be a role model. Children will see what you are doing. Actions speak louder than words, and be the change that you want to see. So that's extremely very important. So when your children see you enjoying fruits and vegetables, relishing that salad along with meals, prioritizing sleep over screen time, this is the best example that you can give. And when they see you exercising, they will do it. It may be probably like I have a patient who's like 25 years old and developed pre-diabetes. She was obese and she was very eager. She actually told me that my parents exercise. It's such a sad state of affairs that my parents are healthy and I am not healthy. And she actually took it on herself, switched over to a whole food plant-based lifestyle, did yoga and whatever 10,000 steps, prioritized sleep, and reversed her pre-diabetes. So she remembered what her parents were doing. So it was very easy for me to, lead her to that same path. Prioritize family meals. At least have one meal as a family together at the dinner table without the screen. Okay? Enjoy your meals, discuss what you happened throughout the day. And these family times, actually, when you have food together, is a huge, for the next generation also. It's very good habit that you can inculcate, and a very wonderful way of playing that role model and inculcating habits like eating fruits and vegetables or whole grains and legumes, right? Cooking at home. Now, in India, all of us almost cook at home, right? But with the advent of Zomato and Swiggy and, like ordering in and dining out, the frequency of cooking at home is reducing day by day. Secondly, with the advent of ready-to-eat foods, like here in multinational corporate offices, they have ready meals which are just need to be microwaved. That is dead food. That's not living food which will nourish you. So cook at home, involve your children in the process of cooking, age appropriate, like chopping, mixing, putting it in the oven, or just like rolling chapati, whatever that they enjoy. And once, so that irrespective of whether it's a boy or a girl, cooking skills are essential because you require food till your last breath. So irrespective of whether you're a boy or a girl, you would, need to learn how to cook. Offer healthy choices. Like when children come back, there should be like chopped fruits on the table, some sliced vegetables or salads in the refrigerator, homemade energy bars or homemade crackers or, cookies, which, why is that important? Because children feel hungry very soon. So they require frequent meals, and a healthy choice is an easy choice. Why do you think this packaged food and ultra processed food is, like the market is like just booming day by day? Because it's easy and it's super convenient. So if the healthy choice is the easy choice, then it becomes easier for the children to make those healthy choices. Then mindful eating. Eat with all your five senses. So designate the structure for eating, that okay, the dining table is the place to eat or the kitchen table is the place to eat. Discourage eating in your bedrooms. Eat with your eyes. Like, why does your mouth water when you see something delicious? Because if something is attractive, you automatically salivate. Then the aroma of food, the texture, the taste of food, So, and chewing your food. Mindful eating, it has been shown that it reduces the incidence of obesity and chronic disease. Discourage dieting. Now, what is dieting? Dieting is very restrictive. It's like eating certain foods certain times a day during a particular time period, and it is never successful or sustainable. It's like a yo-yo dieting. Adolescents and young adults, especially girls, I've seen, would go on some fad diet, lose some weight, go back to their routine, put on some weight, again follow some other diet, lose some, gain some. So it's never sustainable. So discourage dieting. We'll come to childhood obesity once again. Limit screen time. We all know that screens, how dangerous they are. Screens are addictive as well. And limit means make it a fixed hour, that half an hour or 1 hour is your screen time, and it should be on the big screen. Preferably don't give mobiles to young children. Because I'm seeing, especially the lower class, the mobile is the babysitter. The screen is the babysitter. Screen chalu karke khana khila do, the child will eat unlimited. Because the child does not know when the stomach is full, does not appreciate the taste for food. Encourage joyful movements. Play with your children, whether it's cricket, badminton, pakda pakdi, or, just walking in the garden, jumping. Encourage a lot of joyful movements. Avoid weight talk and teasing. And this is specifically true for adolescents and young adults. I will share one case of a 14 or 15-year-old girl who had come to the OPD where the mother complained of pain in the tummy and the child not eating well. It was the season of viral gastroenteritis. I thought it must be just some viral tummy upset. And then the mother blurted out, she's not eating well for last 6 months. Now that is where my antenna was like, this is something wrong. And when I looked at her growth chart, 6 months before, her growth chart was like, her weight was in the obesity category, above the 95th centile. And now it has fallen below the 50. In 6 months, she had lost around 8 to 10 kgs of weight. Now, when I looked at the girl, she was a shy, introvert girl. And later on prodding, I understood her psychological impact, because she was obese, she was very, all her relatives used to tease her, okay, reduce some weight, look at your mother, how thin she is. Now, this is something which has a huge impact on growing brains. So whether you talk about the child, whether you talk about her friends or anyone else in the family or a complete stranger, okay, don't avoid weight talk at the dining table. Focus on your child's positive traits. How creative, whether they do painting, drawing, music. Focus on the positive traits rather than the bad habits. Don't bring out food in each and every conversation. Focus on the behavior, how kind your child is, how sharing and caring your child is, and not on the weight. And this is specifically true for children who are overweight and obese, and ultimately offer unconditional love and support. You have to be their pillar of support. Otherwise, they will not, whatever your tactics are will never work. Connecting before correcting is imperative. If you are connected with your child, the child will share his or her concerns that I don't feel good. My friends are teasing me. I'm not coming to the family get together because everybody is just talking about weight. Okay. So these are the situations that the child will share with you if you validate their concerns and you are not judgmental about it. Okay. So validate the child's concerns together as a team, form, look out for solutions like prepare a healthy recipe together, go out for a walk or a run together, so that this is something that can be built up step by step and it can be made sustainable and enjoyable. Otherwise, what is going to happen is there's a huge set of psychological problems which leads to eating disorders. Cases like anorexia nervosa or bulimia, these were very rare. I hardly saw like 2 or 3 cases in the entire 10 years of initial years of my practice. And now I'm seeing girls with very restrictive diets. They hardly eat anything. And the relationship with food is very disordered eating. So what happens is, when they go on a diet, it leads to poor dietary intake. They are either overdoing exercise or reduced physical activity because they just simply don't have the energy to do any physical activity. Then there is episodes of binge eating and cravings, along with Netflix and I don't know, social media. There's a lot of binge eating going on, like binge watching. And then these children have an increased body mass index and poor emotional and mental well-being. So food, when we are all, out of concern, we want our children to be healthy. Okay. But in this all, sometimes you should not forget the larger picture when you focus on fiber, fruits and vegetables and no added salt. So look at the larger picture. It's okay if once in a while your child has something. Let him or her experience it. You will not be available at each stage, to police what to eat, what not to eat. For example, see, my daughter loves bread, and bread is an ultra processed food. So when she had sandwiches, this was when, of course, she was around 5-6 years of age. She came back to me and said, "Okay, Mama, I'm having constipation." Constipation means she had to strain during potty. And I'm like, "What do you think is the cause?" She's like, "Probably, what did I eat yesterday? I ate bread." And she connected it each time, when she had to strain at her potty. So now when she goes to birthday parties, she just like very little bit of cake or pizza she would have, because that memory is there with her that this food is not suitable for my body. So let your children listen to their own bodies. So encourage this concept of listening to your body. Okay. Now, what is the way forward? We've discussed what are the advantages, how do you go about it? So how do you go about it? Goal setting. So this is specifically true for teenagers and adults, where you're transitioning from, say, an omnivorous diet. You're going to stop animal products. Discuss it with your children. If you have young adults, anywhere between, say, 12 to 25 years, you can watch a movie together for them to understand what are the concerns with animal foods, especially movies like Game Changers or What the Health or You Are What You Eat, and you make your motive clear as to whether you're doing it for health reason, environmental reason, or ethical reason. Learn kitchen replacements. Now here for me, when I transitioned to a plant-based diet, SHARAN was a rescue. The number of cooking classes that they have and how to make food delicious was something that I learned from these cooking classes. Learn the art of cooking delicious whole food plant-based meals, and it is okay to make mistakes and learn. I failed 8 times while learning how to make plant-based curd, whether it was soya curd or whether it was peanut rice curd. But I didn't give up and enjoy the process. It should not be taxing. Ye karna hi hai. Take it easy, one day at a time, and do it. Being forceful is never forceful enough. So you don't force your children. I already mentioned forcing, bribing, prodding, threatening, encouraging. All these things may work in the short term, but in the long term, they're not useful at all. It has been observed that children who are forced to eat healthy food and you resist or restrain them from eating, unhealthy or junk food, they later on would sneak or binge eat junk food whenever they get a chance. So when you are not there, they would probably eat junk food. So don't do that, Now, how do you go about for infants and toddlers? So this thing is for like at age of 6 months, when you start food, you give something like, porridge, whether it's a ragi porridge or a rice porridge. And at 10 months, you can give mashed food. And at 1 year, you can give cooked food. Remember to introduce vegetables and fruits at 6 months of age. You can give pureed steamed carrot, pureed apple, or, even mashed banana. and even vegetables for that matter. You can add it to the khichdi, blend it with a immersion blender, and give that as a pureed food. But remember to introduce fruits and vegetables at 6 months of age. The tastes developed during infancy have a long lasting impact. Now, here is what I do. My children, my daughter is 14, elder one, and younger one is 10 years. So, my children have smoothies 3 days a week. One day they have something like a ragi malt, something they would have soy milk chocolate shake. So, smoothies are really delicious. Then raw salads, I sneak in salads into their rotis, into their vegetables, into their tiffins, and make salads delicious. Just wo kata hua gajar and that slices of cucumber and tomato are very boring for children. And experiment with your food. Fall in love with the process of making food. So you can see biryani, burrito bowl, millet khichdi, stuffed tomatoes, stir tofu fry. All this is what I learned. I actually learned the process of whole food plant-based cooking. And these are the few desserts that I've made at home, right from ice creams to cakes to a lot of other desserts, right from shira and all also I make at home. So the next thing is a lot of teenagers go vegan for the health concern, the environmental concern. We all know that animal agriculture is the leading cause of greenhouse gases. Plus, the junk food market is the most important contributor of plastic pollution. And now plastics are present in water. So microplastics are present in our bodies as well. And microplastics, again, are an important health concern. So both, whether it's the animal food or the ultra-processed packaged food, both are harmful for the environment as well. Now, plant-based diets offer a sustainable, ethical, and nutritionally complete approach to feeding our children and families. I would like to end this talk with one of my favorite quotes, where attention goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, that grows. The focus behind it may be positive or negative. Energy flows regardless. Thank you.